In the South China Sea, a dangerous drama is unfolding, one that could reshape the global order. The BRP Sierra Madre, a rusting Philippine warship grounded on a tiny reef, stands as a symbol of sovereignty and a flashpoint in a tense standoff with China. This isn't just a regional dispute. It's a test of international law and freedom of navigation, with the world's economy at stake. Over a third of global shipping, trillions in goods, passes through these waters every year. Any disruption here would send shockwaves through global markets, affecting prices everywhere. The standoff pits China's growing power and historical claims against the Philippines' legal rights and its alliance with the United States. Every incident is a move in a high-stakes geopolitical chess match. Tensions are at their highest in years, with Chinese water cannons and blockades now routine. These gray zone tactics are risky. One mistake could spark a wider conflict. Understanding this standoff isn't just for policy wonks. It's essential for anyone who cares about global stability. The quiet struggle in the South China Sea is one of the most important stories of our time. The world is watching, often unaware of just how high the stakes are. The next chapter could change everything. To grasp today's crisis, we need to look back. For centuries, the South China Sea was a shared space for fishermen and traders, not a battleground. The modern scramble began in the 20th century as nations formalized borders and discovered oil and gas beneath the seabed. The Philippines' claim is based on proximity and international law, specifically the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. China's claim is rooted in history, citing ancient voyages and a U-shaped line drawn on old maps. These conflicting narratives, law versus history, set the stage for today's standoff. In 1995, China occupied Mischief Reef, deep within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, sparking a crisis. Manila responded by grounding the BRP Sierra Madre on 2nd Thomas Shoal, creating a permanent outpost. Now, every resupply mission is a flashpoint, with Chinese vessels challenging Philippine efforts. The roots of this conflict are tangled in history, law, and national pride. C. China's claim centers on the 9-dash line, a sweeping boundary that covers nearly 90% of the South China Sea. This line cuts through the exclusive economic zones of the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei. The ambiguity of the 9-dash line is deliberate. China never clarifies its exact meaning, keeping neighbors off balance. To enforce its claim, China has built artificial islands, complete with runways, ports, and missile sites. These outposts give Beijing the power to project force and monitor the region. China insists these are defensive, but their military value is clear. The island-building campaign is a direct challenge to international law and the status quo. For the Philippines, the choice is stark. Accept China's new reality or risk confrontation. The 9-dash line isn't just a map. It's China's blueprint for dominance. The world is left to wonder. Where do China's rights end and everyone else's begin? The answer remains dangerously unclear. In 2013, the Philippines took China to court, challenging the 9-dash line under UNCLOS. China refused to participate, but the case went forward at The Hague. In 2016, the tribunal ruled overwhelmingly for the Philippines. China's historic claims had no legal basis. The court found China's actions violated Philippine rights and that none of the disputed features generated significant maritime zones. It was a landmark victory for international law, but largely symbolic. China rejected the ruling outright and continued its activities. The Philippine government, seeking economic ties, set the decision aside for years. The legal win became a tool left unused, as China's presence in the sea only grew. The world saw the limits of law without enforcement. The standoff continued, unresolved. Under President Marcos Jr., the Philippines has revived its legal victory and taken a tougher stance. The 2nd Thomas Shoal, with its stranded warship, is now the epicenter of confrontation. China's response. Gray zone tactics, Coast Guard and militia ships block, harass, and use water cannons against Philippine vessels. These actions are designed to intimidate without triggering war or U.S. intervention. Each resupply mission is a media event, with both sides trading accusations. The U.S. and allies back the Philippines, but China's blockade continues. Recent collisions and injuries have raised the risk of escalation. The standoff is a dangerous game of nerves, with no side willing to back down. The gray zone is getting darker, and the risk of a real clash grows. Every encounter could be the spark that ignites a wider conflict. The world holds its breath. The South China Sea is more than a strategic waterway. It's a lifeline for millions. Its rich fishing grounds feed coastal communities, but Filipino fishermen are now chased away by Chinese ships. Beneath the waves lie billions in oil and gas, resources that could transform the Philippines' economy. Yet, Chinese intimidation keeps these riches out of reach. For China, the cost is diplomatic. Its actions fuel distrust and push neighbors closer to the U.S. The biggest risk is global. Any conflict here could disrupt shipping, spike insurance costs, and rattle economies worldwide. The world's supply chains depend on peace in these waters. That's why nations far from Asia have a stake in the outcome. The fight is about resources, reputation, and the rules that govern the seas. The stakes are nothing less than the stability of the global economy. The world can't afford to look away. The U.S. is the third major player in this standoff, bound to the Philippines by a mutual defense treaty. For years, the treaty's scope was unclear. Would America defend Philippine ships in disputed waters? Recently, Washington has made it explicit attacks on Philippine vessels anywhere in the South China Sea could trigger U.S. intervention. This security guarantee is Manila's strongest shield and China's biggest deterrent. The U.S. Navy regularly sails through contested waters, challenging China's claims and upholding freedom of navigation. These operations are a constant source of friction with Beijing. For the Philippines, the alliance is both protection and a potential trap, tying its fate to the U.S.-China rivalry. Manila must balance its security needs with the risk of being caught in a superpower showdown. The American presence raises the stakes for everyone. The region is now a chessboard for great power competition. The risk a local clash could spiral into a global crisis. The world watches, hoping deterrence holds. Experts warn the situation is more dangerous than it appears. China's long game is to make its control a new normal, wearing down Philippine resistance without open war. The risk of accidental escalation is high. One collision or miscalculation could trigger a crisis. Economic uncertainty hangs over the region, deterring investment and stalling development. The standoff keeps the Philippines and others from tapping their own resources, deepening dependency. Many argue that only a united international response can check China's ambitions. If Beijing can ignore international law here, what's to stop others elsewhere? The fight is about more than territory. It's about whether rules or raw power will shape the future. Only a strong collective stand can persuade China to reconsider. The world's response now will echo far beyond these waters. So, who's winning in the South China Sea? On the surface, China dominates. Its ships control the waters, its islands are fortified, and the Philippines is blocked from its own resources. But China's gains come at a cost. It's pushed the Philippines closer to the U.S. and alarmed the region, sparking new alliances to balance Beijing's power. The Philippines, though outmatched, has rallied global support by standing firm on principle and law. The standoff has become a symbol of resistance against bullying and a test of the international order. Yet, neither side truly wins. China's dominance breeds distrust. The Philippines' legal victories remain unenforced. The region is tense, the global economy at risk. Real victory will require diplomacy and respect for the rule of law. The path forward is uncertain, but the world must stay engaged. The future of the South China Sea will help define the future of global order. Pay attention. What happens here matters everywhere. In these contested waters, the shape of tomorrow's world is being decided.